Hello and welcome everyone. Today we'll be discussing various topics related to cryptocurrency, including cryptocurrency outlook, some hot topics, upcoming projects. But before we dive into this, let's go around and introduce ourselves. Let's start off with Kirill. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Ruben, for your warm introduction. Today we're having casual chats when, as you said, talk generally about crypto industry, what happened in the past, what we foresee what's going to happen in the next couple of months and years. And yeah, my name is Kirill. I'm doing business development, MatchX and MXC Foundation. With some of you, we already had a lot of chats on Discord, on Twitter, and other social media platforms. And I hope you enjoy having this chat with us today. And yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Kirill. And nice that you're on board. Next up, Aaron. Welcome to the show. Can you
Thanks,
please
Ruben.
introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Aaron from MXC, one of the co-founders of MXC. We're doing this what are we calling this one? Casual Connect. And part of this is actually me talking to Phil or Nordic Crypto about some things we can do to talk a little bit more about the industry, what's happening in crypto, give people a little bit more personal insight into what we as individuals think. And we're giving this a go, something different, and hopefully people enjoy it and we can understand a little bit more about the way we think, the way the industry works, and we'll get more special guests on in the future. But we really appreciate Phil joining, and I'll hand it back to you, Ruben, so you can introduce Phil.
Thank you so much for this. Yeah, last but not least, guys, we have Phil, also known as Nordic Crypto. He's a very good friend of ours. Phil, could you please introduce yourself as well?
Yes, hi everyone. Yes, Phil or Philip, whatever you want to call me, formerly known as Nordic Crypto as my YouTube channel name. It's great to be here. I'm probably more on the user experience side of this mining IoT space. But yeah, really excited to be here. This is the first time I'm actually joining such a recording, such an event. So it's going to be exciting for sure.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much for this. Hey, I have another question for you. Could you please tell me how you rolled into crypto?
Yeah, so it started all back in 2017 when I first noticed about crypto, mainly from the investing point of view. And then I've always been into filming, editing, creating movies. And so when I started more and more going into crypto, I thought, why not join the two? And then I think it was 14th June 2021 that I bought my first M2 Pro miner. And that really got me started into the IoT space. That was a great date, so to say, very much.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
The most common question, the most common question people usually ask when you first started doing your crypto journey, like, what was the first token that you bought?
The first crypto tokens? Ooh, let's see. I actually tried to get onto a platform trying to buy XRP before it had its, what it's called, 1,000 to 3,000% run. But the KYC process to get onto the exchange took me 3 weeks. So then it was all past the all-time high. So that was my entry experience into crypto, very harsh.
Yeah, same for me. This journey started like, well, I was completely like newbie in this industry, like in 2000, I think 17 or 16, and I didn't know nothing about crypto, Bitcoins, and Ethereum. Just started reading a lot of articles, and I thought, to get a Bitcoin, I have to start a node on my computer. So I downloaded the old software to basically, I've been start mining Bitcoin on my laptop, and it almost like melted down because like it couldn't just like withstand the amount of data been coming to my laptop daily. And then I figured out like, oh, basically to get a Bitcoin, I don't need to mine a Bitcoin. I can just buy Bitcoin on different exchanges. And well, for me, it was a chaotic journey, to be honest, like, because I downloaded so many wallets, like I forgot all the seed phrases because I didn't know that I have to really like safely securing them on my piece of paper or somewhere like hidden notes or whatsoever. But yeah, it was same as for you. It was a chaotic journey, and I'm really glad that right now it's getting more and more user friendly, like for many different people, because during the last bull run, which was like a couple of years ago, when Bitcoin hit like 60,000 K, so many friends of mine from my circle came to me like, hey, Kirill, I know you've been still working in crypto industry. Like, can you give us advice how to buy different cryptocurrency? And I figured out like right now it's quite easy. You just download the app, going through different steps, and here you go. You get access to many different tokens, like thousands of tokens, like, and on of any choice, which I think it's really like help those newbies and help this industry to get more and more people involved. Because back in the days, as you said, it was really chaotic, like, and like you should have done certain research and have certain knowledge about it. But right now it's getting more and more user friendly. And Ruben, what was your first token that you bought? I remember
That's
you told me
actually
once.
that's a pretty funny thing, actually. Yeah. Just like Phil, I think I rolled into crypto as well. 2016, 2017 was kind of the IDO boom. I think the more narrative was behind ICO back in the days. But actually, my first purchase was IOTA, also an IoT token, and I think yeah, via some different news platforms, I started looking into it. I'm like, all right, cool. I didn't know anything about crypto back in the days. I was like, all right, yeah, IOTA. Some friends recommended it to me and stuff like this. Yeah, and then at some point I just purchased it, and yeah, it became my first purchase in crypto. And not soon after this, MXC and MatchX launched the M2 Pro. So I was also one of the first IoT miners out there. And yeah, since then, been doing pretty good in crypto, I would say, getting a lot of experience, a lot of networking is happening. And yeah, I'm just excited to be part of the whole cryptocurrency movement. And I have kind of the feeling that there's people have the same mindset behind this. There's a lot of people in crypto that I feel like, all right, you see the same kind of vision that I'm seeing. And therefore, um, you have each other's backs. You're building something totally new, and this is what excites me. This is what interests me. And of course, looking at what the traditional finance does, I think it's a complete new era of a financial switch that we're currently facing, from moving towards a sort of new digital era. So, but yeah, to come back to your question, my first IoT token or my first crypto purchase was IOTA.
Nice, nice. Well, I have completely different journey with my first cryptocurrencies. For me, it obviously was Bitcoin and Ethereum because I didn't know that there's other cryptocurrencies back then. But I'm not gonna tell you on this call why I've been using Bitcoin and Ethereum, but for some like darknet things, because back in the days it was a currency that facilitated a lot of like darknet. Yeah, moving on.
Yeah, cool. So I was thinking, let's dive into the current cryptocurrency outlook. What's going on in the markets recently? So yeah, let's take a quick look at the overall outlook. And to do that, we'll use a cryptocurrency heat map. I hope you guys watching the stream or watching the video are familiar with what a heat map is. It basically shows us like how well the token is performing individually, in a very yeah. Basically, what you can see is a whole overview of like what is Bitcoin doing, is it up or down, just to check the overall out view of the cryptocurrencies. And as of today, it looks pretty much red, I would say. Some green out there. BNB only 43%, 0.43% up. XRP slightly up with 2.3%. And for the rest, everything is pretty much in the red. So I would like to know from you, Aaron, what is your perspective currently on the market? What do you think are we still in a bear market? Are we in a bull market? Are we consolidating right now? What's going on from your perspective?
Well, that's a tough one. It's a loaded question. I think at the end of the day, what's happening right now, it's a very weird market. And I've been through a few bear markets myself. This is probably my third now, fourth. Coming up now, and this is a weird one. Usually bear markets are a lot easier to predict, I think, and they go down hard, and then they start to they stay there for a while, they consolidate, and then they start moving back up again. I don't think we're there yet. That's just my personal perspective, of course, and it's not financial advice, but I think this is a very peculiar one because we have seen some kind of dead cat bounces in some some tokens as well, which is really peculiar, but then it kind of drops a lot, then comes back again, which is very rare. It's a strange bear market, this one, but also it's very cyclical as well. And for a lot of people who are watching this, and maybe it's their first bear market, FUD, nervousness, people are worried about everything. Crypto is going to crash. It's all going to zero, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's something that everyone says every bear market. I was, we would in crypto when Bitcoin was hit its all-time high back in the days of 19,000. I think most of you were, and then it dropped down to $3,000. And back then, everyone said it's done. It's all over. Crypto's dead. And that happens a lot in bear markets. So I think for a lot of people who are experiencing their first bear market, look, it's difficult. I think it's difficult for everyone. If you have the means to hodl, it's probably best to obviously buy low, sell high, clearly. But I think for those people who have the means, this is not a good time to sell right now for most tokens, I think. That's just my personal perspective.
No,
but
even
at the
when
end of
you're
the day, I think,
underwater.
yeah, exactly. And that's probably the worst time to sell. But I think also probably the most, the clearest thing I think whenever I look at tokens, and I get involved in a few tokens as well, is that what do they stand for? What's their premise? What are they doing? And if it's just some tokens that are existing, which there are a lot out there and not really doing anything moving forward, then you need to check that. But also check, what are they doing in a bear market? Are there a lot of tokens that are sitting around doing nothing, kind of fingers crossed, hoping the bear market will pass?
Yeah, some of
I
them are
think
just
those
sitting
are
it
some
out.
things. Exactly, and that's the projects that people need to look at and say, okay, start questioning them. Okay, what are you guys doing? What are you preparing? You have to build in a bear market. You have to build in a bear market, because when a bull comes, the things you've built now are the ones that you'll ride on in the bull market. I think, as I said, like the bases, the NFT craze, et cetera, that no one really saw coming. DeFi back in the days, and they're built in these markets, in the bear markets, for those bull markets. But that's just my perspective.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for this. Hey, I would
talking about the bear market. Like I remember the previous bear market. I think like 2019, 2020, and the Bitcoin was like 3.5K, and I bought a whole entire Bitcoin like in 2020 and sold on 7K, and I was thinking like, oh my god, like I'm new Warren Buffett. I'm just make the best investment decision in my life. And a couple of months later, like Bitcoin hit 60K, and I was just like, oh my god, like why have I done it? Like, but I mean, yeah, but also let's not forget that the current situation in the world is not great as it used to be like a couple of years ago. Like we just like passed over coronavirus, which completely destroyed like so many economies around the world. Like here in Europe, we have the highest inflation rate in the last, like, I think 20 years. We're also having a war in the center of Europe, like, and we're having another issues going all around the world. Like, so I don't think it's like bear market in crypto. I think it's in general, the world is going into recession, and which is good, which is like if you look back at the history, like every 10 and 15 years, like the economy reached its peak, then it goes cool down, and then they rise back again. So I think it's completely fine, and I don't think like people should be like thinking like badly about like, oh, this is like the end of crypto, or this is the end of stock market. Like, come on, like stock market experience like so many.
Don't you think that's a reaction that happens a lot? Like what I find interesting about crypto, right, is that people say, oh, that's the end of crypto. It's all done. All tokens are done, or et cetera, or specific tokens are done. But it's rare, and I don't think I've ever heard where someone says, okay, the stock exchange is done. Wall Street is over. They can drop as much as they want, or as much as inflation allows, et cetera, in these markets. And it is all cyclical. As you said, it will come back. This is just a cycle that usually happens. But at the end of the day, it's quite interesting that I think a lot of people in crypto panic so much the entire industry is destroyed, but no one ever panics on the side of Wall Street and the stock exchange, where people go, oh, okay, it's all done now. I think we need to, in crypto, need to be a lot firmer in our belief in what we're doing.
Yeah, I think what the differences between like what's happening on the traditional stock markets is because they have been out there for a very long time, and people have I would say more trust towards what's happening there when it goes up or down. But in crypto, it's a whole different kinds of roller coaster. And coming back to you when you talk about,
do you think that's built? Sorry, can I just ask a question on that though? Do you think that's because it's built on certain things? Like people know, okay, for example, Amazon, they sell things. Facebook has advertising, et cetera, whereas a lot of crypto companies haven't evolved. Some have, but not all have evolved to that kind of let's call it Web 2 model. And I think a lot of Web 3 models that people don't understand with crypto,
Yes,
which
the
do make
backing,
sense,
the backing
but they haven't
value
got
of
their
these
head around it.
companies, the backing value of these companies that are listed on these stock exchanges. I think that's where the people they get their trust from that kind of
Yeah.
parts after doing their research, of course. Like, hey, how does this company make money? How does it make value? How does it grow? And based on these kinds of things, you see the stock markets reflecting towards this. But I would like to go back towards cycles, because we've mentioned cycles before in the conversation. And I would like to ask Phil about this. Phil, with the current market conditions from what's happening in cryptocurrency, do you think the Bitcoin halving is already scaled in or not? And if not, are you will you convert to a sort of what they say on crypto Twitter, perma bull, once the cycle has happened and you are confident that the next bull run is happening this year or next year?
Oh, that's a very good question. I also want to continue on what you said before, that I also think that the comparison between the stock market and the crypto ecosystem, it's more like it's still within a speculative sector. The mainstream media still talks very much harshly on crypto. So I can see why the retail sector is very much scared about it. But regarding this question about the upcoming Bitcoin halving, if I'm gonna go perma bull, so to say, I still think we have a bit of ways down to go. The volume overall, the crypto market, I don't think looks good at all. And I think there is a looming macroeconomic situation, as we saw Jerome Powell speaking about, or hinting towards a little bit yesterday. I think there's a bit more Red Sea coming personally, but I still also think that I'm quite optimistic for 24, but mainly perhaps 2025 after the Bitcoin halving. So I'm for sure trying to, as good as I can, keep a lot of dry powder for this entire process. I don't know if we're gonna be in for a year or two before starting to see some upside, but
Yeah.
I'm
So
trying to be
that's
optimistic.
That's actually the current phase that we're in right now regarding any market in crypto. I think we're in the phase of accumulation right now. What you should do, if you have something extra on the side, of course, do your own research, invest at your own risks, those kinds of things. But I think right now is the sort of time frame where there's a lot of opportunities to fill up your bags of different kinds of tokens. Get dollar cost average, even if your bags are underwater and things like those. Because in the end, the next bull run is imminent. It will happen. When it will happen, within the next couple of years, we cannot exactly tell the dates of when this actually flips, the flippening. But in the end, right now, it's from my perspective, not financial advice, of course, I would recommend just keep on loading up on the bags, diversify your portfolio, of course, a bit, and then just sit back, relax, and just enjoy the ride for the next leg up, I would say. But then again,
But
I
that's
also agree.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
was going to say, Ruben, don't you think also that's kind of a weird thing right now? In the last, 2 months, we've seen some, I don't want to call it bullish activity, but some strange market activity, we'll call it that way, where if you bought prior to that, you could have made a good 20, 30% plus.
Yep.
So this is still, I think this is still a good market for those who keep active in the market and don't just buy and disappear. But it's some strange things happening. And I think, as Philip said, it's true. There's not a lot of liquidity there right now, which also makes these kind of bullish tendencies a little bit strange, because usually they would try and, if they are going to go for half a bull, kind of push up a little bit and then consolidate, but they didn't seem to do that either. So it's a strange market, but I think also there's still money to be made if that's what people are after. But I must bring back to the other premise that money's one thing, but I honestly think, and this is just from my perspective, you should also get into tokens you believe in and something that you actually are passionate about, because you'll meet a lot of new people. Like we've all met each other through crypto, and you meet people that share that same passion. So even if the price is down, you can still see some movement in regards to what the technology is bringing forward and those things. I think that's super essential to actually get involved in things you believe in, because you'll learn a lot more as well.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yep.
say, you want to get to the same optimistic level as Kirill had, that when you see a sea of red, the prices are low, you just want to be happy about it, you want to invest more and more and more. So I think it's a great opportunity now when the markets are down to do a lot of research as well, until you feel really comfortable about the crypto, the projects you want to invest in. And if you're that comfortable about it, then when the prices get lower, you will actually get more and more happy about it, because that only means you can accumulate more over time.
Yep. I agree.
Cool. All right. So we discussed the crypto heat map, what's going on as of today or the last couple of weeks, the short-term expectations. Of course, we can have a next leg down, and I think that's the most, yeah, I think the highest chance for us that the next leg down will happen. I'm aiming at like 12, 11K. That's my target for Bitcoin at least, until we see further momentum upwards. As of long-term expectations from my side, as we just discussed, the Bitcoin halving, how it's upcoming, and when we can speculate on having the next bull run coming. Would you guys like to add anything next to this, or you think we can move on to the next topics?
Well, I have the most, like, I think uncommon opinion, like, in order to what is missing in crypto industry. And I said, like, it's a very super uncommon opinion. Like, I think it's regulation, and that's why I really appreciate what CZ does. Like, he travels all around the world, like he trying to make agreement with different governments to understand like how to regulate this industry, to get more approvals for his exchange. I also appreciate what the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, is doing. Like, he always like building new features, adding like recently he added this like base to Coinbase, which is going to be their layer 2 solution for launching their own digitalized apps and everything. I think those people who really just talk to the government, who like travels all around the world, like, and spreading the word about crypto industry, crypto exchanges, and those people are doing the mass adoption, not companies who just like, okay, like, you know, like I'm really big fan of Polkadot, but I don't think that Polkadot does anything. It's just like their Discord is closed, like they're doing like one announcement a month. Like, I mean, obviously they're building a great product. Like, I'm a big believer in parachains, but like the way how they perform, the way how they do, it's like everything so secretly. Like, there is no any announcements, there is no any.
Yeah, but how would regulation help that? I mean, I disagree with that. I don't think regulation is what we need in crypto. At the end of the day, like, regulation can't even work in crypto to a large extent. And yes, it can for some things, and of course to kind of shady characters within crypto. But at the end of the day, regulation can never catch up with the speed of crypto. The way things are moving, DeFi, you know, how that fast that moved and changed the whole industry. You can never get governments to move that fast, I think. So I think, yeah, there needs to be some baselines for sure in regards to protecting users. But at the end of the day, we can't really expect governments to come in, or even want governments to come in to really regulate everything, because they just cannot do it. Like, they're just not fast enough, I think.
I totally agree that like you can't really catch up with all different projects and products which the crypto industry bring to this world. But what I'm saying, like, I mean, the way how even crypto exchanges evolved, like for the over last 10 years, like back in the days, it was a chaos to buy Bitcoin, whether it was a peer-to-peer like transaction, or you go to some like old school fashioned, like looking from 90s like crypto exchanges. And right now, because of like they got this like approvals, like they got this like European licenses, American licenses. Right now, you go to Coinbase, and it's way easy to buy for you a Bitcoin. You can do your credit card. Like, you don't need right now anymore to somehow like buy
sure,
Bitcoin.
But is that
as
a result of regulations from government?
Absolutely, because like if it wouldn't be approved by government, you cannot list an app like on an Apple Store or Google Play. It's obviously like everything linked to this like regulations. Like, I mean, as I said, like I totally agree that you cannot catch up with all these new projects and new products that bring crypto industry is bringing to this world, as I said, like, but some sort of like at least like helping regulations to help to maintain these relationships between investors and traders, like to bring another layer of transparency. It also makes people feel more secure and brings another credibility to the industry, which I think it's not necessarily a bad movement from companies like such as Binance or Coinbase, which is I think constantly in talks with this Security Exchange Committee or any other authorities all around the world. So I think they're doing a big a big thing, a big favor to all of us.
See, I just think it's an extra plus for it to be regulated by the government. From my perspective, it would say something that the government accepts it. All right, crypto is out there. We accept it. Now it's time to regulate it. So the government also has a stake into what's happening here. But the main thing that I'm still aiming for is massive adoption. Like back in the days, we started with just tech geekies trading around with crypto because, hey, this is new, blockchain technology. What is this? Wait, there's no third party that needs to approve things. Wow, what's happening here? So that's like first the small players came in, right? And then we see smaller companies being like, all right, crypto, it's pretty interesting. Let's do something with it. And then you see VCs coming on board. You see countries adopting it. I think it's just about how the people will use crypto, that it's being massively used, adoptive, and
but don't you think that will be it?
Yeah,
like,
I
sorry,
think this
but
will be
I've
it.
got a question for everyone then on that sense. Isn't it more about adoption? Because doesn't it
It
become,
is.
if so many people adopt crypto, you can't kill it, which
It
probably
is
leads me to
only
this
about
question.
adoption.
And
But the
I'd
problem
like
what I'm
probably just to
having
ask,
with, sorry.
so I was going to ask you and Philip and Kirill, is crypto too big now to die? Do you think? And I'm not just talking about individual tokens, I'm talking about the industry as a whole, BTC, et cetera, et cetera. Is crypto too big to die?
At some point, it turned into too big to ignore. So that's why like some big institutional investors came in, some governments also start like investigating. Like we're noticing right now the boom of digital cryptocurrencies all around the world. Like European Central Bank is going to issue their own euro on a digital decentralized ledger. Like we have having the same in the United States, we have some in India, we have some in China. So are we seeing like those big players such as the governments and authorities came into the game and also trying to build their own products, like and trying to implement these decentralized technologies into their day-to-day businesses, day-to-day economy, and all etc. And coming back to the question, like too big to fail. I also this huge players invested in billions of money into Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies during the last bull run. So they cannot afford like Bitcoin to go like below like I don't know 10 or 5K. So this is obvious. Like there's so many companies having their assets in a digital currency, like Tesla, one of the example. Like I mean, I know they're like buying and selling, but it's only one example. We have another crypto huge old-fashioned stock investors who also invested huge portion of their fund into digital currency. Yes, I believe it's too big to fail.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the entire crypto sector, especially within the financial sectors, the tokenizations sector, that it's getting too intertwined now to go back, and the technology there is too good not to use. So eventually, one way or another, once we get to see a few partners, a few entities starting to use the technology, it will just spread because it's so much better within pretty much every aspect of historic technology. So I see cryptocurrency being far too big to ignore at this point.
Yeah, I very much agree with what you're saying. And even to add to this, what I'm thinking, right? Back in the days, we had floppy disks as storage devices, and now we are in the stage of NVMe solid state drives, right? We upgraded so much from floppy disks towards the solid state drives. I think crypto currently, on the same perspective, right, is currently in the age of the floppy disks. It still needs all the massive adoption. It has the adoption. It's there, and yes, I think it's too big to fail right now. It will continue to grow. It's exactly a copy paste of what the internet boom did back when it started. So that's pretty much from my perspective. All right, let's move on to the next kind of topics. In regards to the next big thing in crypto, Phil, I would like to ask you how do you find your next big thing, and if you find it, how do you predict it?
So I usually go around searching. Like I really like Twitter, going around. I really like CoinMarketCap, finding people that no one seems to follow and just see what they're up with. It feels like most of it isn't really good information. There's a lot of spam and rug pulls out there, so it's a bit scary sometimes, but sometimes you get in on exciting stuff. I think I use mostly Twitter nowadays.
Yeah, crypto Twitter it's still a thing, and it will stay the thing. And in regards to other things than crypto, NFTs, how well are you in NFTs? How deep are you in NFTs? And do you hold a Bored Ape Yacht Club, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've actually not been that much into NFTs. Actually, I've always tried to stay away from all these JPEG pictures, this picture phase of NFTs, because I saw the real functionality of NFTs, what it could become. So I've always held back on that, trying to wait out. So when you announced the functional NFTs coming, then I really thought to myself, now this is when we're gonna start talking about stuff. So when that arrives, then I would be more involved, so to say.
So you're more looking into NFTs that are not just JPEGs you buy for Ethereum or any other cryptocurrency. You are more into digging of the utility form of the JPEGs. What's
Yes.
behind it? What can it do? Things like those.
Yes, if I really like to invest in the stuff that I think will have utility, will have use case, even though if it doesn't success in price, I still think it's a worth cause to get involved with, at least at some point.
Yep. And Aaron, what's your take on NFTs? Do you hold some NFTs yourself?
No, I agree exactly with what Philip just said, actually. I think I did sit back and I watched a lot of it. I think a lot of it was speculation in regards to certain images, etc. But I think we're really at stage one of what's happening in NFTs. I would like to see a lot more functionality, which is what we've spoken about MXC and something that Philip touched on. But also, I think there's a lot more functionality in regards to identification of physical products, that we can add NFTs to that as well, and NFT identification. So I think this is phase one, and I get it. It was a huge hype. People loved it. I don't own any bases or anything like that. I looked into it. I'm like, it's kind of crazy. Speculation on literally just a picture on a JPEG. But I think the next step has to be functionality. And I think also certification, certifying that this potential tangible product in the real world, we'll call it that, is genuine, because this NFT also proves it as well. And I think if we can do that cross functionality between those two, that's the next big step for NFTs. But right now, I didn't get involved, let's call it in the NFT 1.0 JPEG phase. It's just something that I felt was a little bit too, it wasn't based on too much besides a lot of hype. And I think when hype dies, and it does die eventually, especially in bear markets, then there's nothing really to hold it up. So that's why I didn't really get involved.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hey, Phil, have you heard or have you read yourself into ordinals?
I've seen it going around during the latest days. I also followed a big whale on Etherscan that made huge purchasings of some ordinals, but I didn't actually get into it. I haven't researched it any more than that.
Yeah, same here. It's kind of a narrative that's been dropping lately. I'm not very a fan of NFTs in general, anyways.
Is it like NFT on a Bitcoin chain?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
I saw a couple of videos on YouTube and in this regard, like, but really also didn't dive deep into this topic, because I'm completely fed with all this NFT hype. Like, so it's such a speculative, like you're buying something and hope like you're doing some like shady trades between your friends.
Perfect. All right. So after discussing the next big thing in crypto and NFT topics, project updates. And I would like to ask this for Aaron. What do we have accomplished so far, and what's coming?
Yeah, I don't want to keep this too much focused on MXC. I want to have a general chat. But basically, I think one of the key aspects of us is ISOs and initial sensor offering, which I would assume most people within MXC circles have heard about. I think for us, it's really a big deal. It's not necessarily something new. I would say it's something that we've really encompassed everything and bringing it all together. And what I mean by that is, one of the key aspects that we've focused on for the last few years now, almost 3 years, is the supply side of a network, creating a network and ensuring there's supply there. And I've used this analogy before. It's like building a train network. You can't have passengers riding on that train network until the rails are built and there's trains riding on that. So we have like an MVP right now, which is a minimum viable product of the amount of network that's out there, or the supply in basic economics, but we need a demand. And we've seen other IoT companies fail because there's been a lack of demand on there. So I think what the ISO does is it allows hardware companies to get involved in crypto, but it also allows crypto companies to get involved in sensors and onboard them onto our mining network. That allows our miners to mine those tokens. It allows those tokens to also get more notoriety because they're exposed to our network of 35,000 plus miners. And it allows a win-win situation for everyone, for MXC, for startup or launchpad companies with sensors, or hardware companies, because we do support other IoT companies, and for our mining community. So I think it's a really, really smart option. Of course, I'm going to say that, but I do think it's a smart option that creates a significant demand on our network, and we can work with a lot of other companies within, let's call it the X to earn industry. I still think that that's got a lot of movement, a lot of legs in the industry still. I know that Stefan did quite well at the beginning and then kind of tempered off, but there's a lot of other things that can be done within that industry of X to earn that I think can benefit us, our mining network, and the third parties that we will be onboarding. None of those tokens will be our tokens. We will just welcome new IoT launchpads and new IoT startups, or alternatively, later down the track, existing tokens in IoT space to join Datadash and allow their token to be mineable via our mining network.
Yeah. Hey, I would like to ask a purely question for IoT.
Go ahead.
I would like to ask, what's your take on IoT right now? Where we're at, and do you see a very great adoption for IoT in the near future?
Well, it's a great question, and I think right now the entire IoT industry in a stagnant mode. I've seen a lot of companies in a cryptocurrency, in a blockchain industry. I see companies who's developing a lot of like IoT devices. I have a lot of companies who's developing IoT software. But I think the biggest bottleneck, which most of the companies cannot like overcome, and I think this is also also like a barrier for the mass adoption. It's a lack of interoperability. It's a lack of ecosystem. Like it's IoT being like as a word, like I don't know, for like last 30 years, like everybody's talking about IoT, smart cities, like how to build these different use cases, how to make the cities of tomorrow, like where everything is well connected. You get gathering like thousands of data, you're making your decisions like based on this data, like you're making businesses more smarter and more efficient, like you make cities more comfortable for citizens. So if you go on the internet and just Google like IoT smart cities, you can find a lot of tons of materials, like tons of companies who can help and develop. But I think the lack of interoperability between software, between hardware, between devices, because there is not a single company who can deliver everything under one brand. So you need to go to different vendors. It's like I mean we're all having our preferences when it comes to our personal devices, like whether you stick to Apple ecosystem, whether you stick to Windows ecosystem, but everything works like a symphony in a harmony. Like, and you don't need to have any knowledge like.
But is this coming? This symphony and harmony, is this coming for IoT itself? Is this what you feel, or?
That's what we're trying.
I think it's coming. It's what we're trying to do. Like that's what we here at MatchX trying to do. That's why we're having this network, we're having this software coming soon. So just to make it everything understandable for regular customer, for regular person.
I think we're gonna see a singularity very, very soon between hardware IoT and crypto. I think it's coming, and I think it's going to be pretty big. Exactly. In addition, I would like to ask Phil about the M2 Pro and what are your expectations for the Neo?
My expectations for the Neo?
Yes.
Let's see here. The indoor verification for NFTs and home devices. Do you mean in regards to user experience, or?
In regards to user experience, in regards to market penetration, because there's a new device that's going to be launched, and hopefully it has going to do a lot with densing the network and verifying different kinds of things, also certifying things. Yeah, I would like to have your take on the user experience as well as the underlying technology behind it.
Yeah. I really liked the marketing step of targeting towards Dogecoin. I think that was a really smart decision. It's bringing in some fun, some humor into mining and IoT that's needed in such a digital space. Also, judging it from using the M2 Pro, I suspect the Neo to be as easy as, if not even more easy to use, which is a common barrier for new people getting into crypto mining that shouldn't really be there. And I think the M2 Pro is by far one of the most easier crypto miners I've used so far. So I think that is what to expect as well from the Neo. I'm very interested in trying out the different tiers that have been spoken about. And I also like I've heard about the way you can estimate or calculate what the different tiers, what they can bring you. So that's also going to be fun to play around with.
Yeah, Aaron, would you like to quickly touch topics on the different tiers and how the mechanism behind it works, or?
Look, I will just say, adding on what Philip said, look, we tried to add some gamification aspect to it. And what I mean by that is we don't want it to be gimmicky by no means, but we want some longevity out of the Neo. I think we've seen the feedback we've got on MetaXP, so it's important we build longevity into the miner to ensure people understand how they can create longevity out or get more out of their miner. I also understand a lot of people who bought the M2 Pro have never mined before. And one of the things that Philip said, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because we brought out the M2 Pro. One of the key things that the hardware department did, and hats off to them, is make it so simple for anyone to use. And as we all spoke about at the start of this call, simplicity and is reducing those barriers to entry. That's what we did with the M2 Pro. And I think now with the Neo, we've tried to work on a much lower price to reduce entry barriers as well, so a lot more people can get involved. That was one of the biggest things that we had, when we brought out the M2 Pro. It's too expensive, it's a scam, etc. It's too expensive. Now we brought out the Neo. It's much cheaper. It's still called a scam because it's cheaper, so I don't understand that, but something you can never win. But we've deliberately focused on this low scale certification technology within this to verify things that we're looking at with the ISOs, to verify tokens and these extra earn movement that we're working on. In regards to tiers, we will have different tiers in regards to how the mining capability of what people can do, but I also want them to be extremely flexible, that people can understand them. We will be doing a rationale for all of those different aspects. I won't go too deep into it right now because I don't want this topic to be too MXC focused, but I want people who get involved with Neo to understand it, understand that yes, there are some promotional aspects in there they can get involved in different tiers, but what we're trying to do is balance two different worlds, right? We have one world, we have the IoT network, which is what we're loyal to and why we exist. Without this IoT network, we have nothing. On the other world, I understand people want to earn millions of dollars, etc., etc. So we're trying to balance those two worlds to ensure that we can get as much out of the IoT network and the contributors on that, or the supply side, but also on the other side to ensure that we have a happy mining community as well. And I do strongly believe that we have got that with Neo. It's a different mining protocol to what was on the M2 Pro. I've seen some pushback from some people in regards to Neo, even though they have no idea what they're talking about. They're completely clueless about Neo, and that's fine. But I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what you say, Philip, or Kirill says. The proof is in the pudding, and that will come out. We need to prove ourselves. When people start mining with it, they realize how good it will be for them, then it should market itself, so to say. So I don't think I need to comment too much more on that.
No, perfect. Thank you for sharing this. I would also like, Phil, are you into any other mining communities? Do you have an ASIC miner, and what's your experience with that if you have one?
Oh, I have several miners. I actually, a few years ago, built my first GPU mining rig of 7 GPUs. I started from nothing, but from scratch. I really like to figure things out by myself and go through all the nitty-gritty stuff. So I built my own mining rig.
What kind of cards were you running on it?
1070 and 3060 Ti's,
Yeah,
I think.
NVIDIA's.
Yeah. And then the electric price here in Sweden really skyrocketed. So I actually sold my GPU mining rig for a few years ago. It was quite in time for when Ethereum went over to proof of stake also. I used to mine mainly Ethereum. But
Yeah, because
yeah.
I see a lot of people going towards Cadena miners. Do you have one, or do you know some people that have one, or?
I actually don't have one Cadena myself. I have one that is gonna run on the Cadena blockchain that I'm gonna release a video on quite soon, actually. It's called Crank. That is quite new. I think there's only 500-600 miners in the world right now of those. So that's kind of connected to Cadena. Then I got a few other ones, a few weather stations, VPN, crypto miner. Yeah, I got a bunch of them.
Interesting.
VPN crypto miner, you mean like a deeper network?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Well, I have questions to all of you. I think we've been covering like a couple of topics here, like whether it's kind of regulations, mass adoption, IoT industry, and why I didn't take it off yet. And my question is going to be, what is the next big thing going to be in a blockchain / cryptocurrency industry? So we experienced like the boom of digitalized app. We experienced the boom of NFT. We experienced boom of crypto mining back like 7 years ago. So what is, in your opinion, going to be the next big thing in the next like 2-3 years?
Phil, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. And I've actually thought about this a lot. And what you're talking about is more the narratives we see. We have had the move to earn with the STEPN, we'd had gaming, we'd have the layer ones, metaverse, AI more recently. But I actually think that gaming is the industry that will take crypto into more mainstream. I feel like there is such a huge gaming movement in the world, and that is so closely related to payments, already digital using on your computer. So I think there is only one step away from, because all the transaction, all the NFTs, all the use cases already there within the blockchain technology. So if someone is just able to take that and candy wrap that into a good, viable game that gets global adoption, then I think that's pretty much it. Then I think that will bring the adoption a lot faster. I think that will be the thing that's going to happen.
I assume you game sometimes as well, Phil. So if you look at the Steam markets, you can get these player cards. You can get skins for your particular guns. Let's say CS:GO, for instance. You can purchase them on Steam yet, but why did Steam is such a big platform, right? It makes millions and millions of dollars. Why didn't Steam convert yet all of these skins towards NFTs and cryptonize their platforms?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe it's because I think they take a huge profit percentage from those trades. I'm not sure how that works. I never traded on
but
CS:GO.
you can also get royalties every NFT trade, right? You can take a 10% cut every time.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, but I agree with what you're saying with the gaming industry, and it's a leading thing because the most people that are into crypto are the same generation that are heavily into gaming, that are heavily onto social media. Like they are super digitalized.
Yeah, that's going to mainly be the people, the retail sector. Business-wise, I think might be more of the utility tokens within the financial sector that might bring in more businesses. But that's an entire different topic.
Yeah, Kirill. What the next big thing, and normally what I'm looking at is kind of different narratives, as Phil also touched upon, like DeFi, NFT booms. We had actually the launchpad booms, is where I started in with crypto. Just touching different kinds of narratives, see where the big whales flow their money into, is normally where money is to be made. Of course, you just follow the big money movements. What I'm currently seeing is what I think a hot topic right now is airdrops. There's a lot of different companies that are currently conducting airdrops or are going to do airdrops. At least they announced it. And what they're basically doing, they're not trying to get users just buy their token and that's it. No, some of them, let's say Arbitrum, for instance, they engage users to use their platform, and doesn't have to be a lot, or it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. You can do $5 and you can just use some of their platforms. You can use bridge functions, send some ETH towards Arbitrum, and you can get an airdrop. So airdrop is kind of a hot narrative that I'm looking into right now, I would say. And then of course I don't have a glass ball. I don't know what's gonna go happen in the next couple of years, or let's say Q4 2023. I don't know what's going to be the hottest topic during that day. All I'm focused on right now is, okay, what's currently happening in the market? What are the people talking about? And how well is this being, put into a pot and brewed?
Yeah, thank you everyone for your answers. Like, I partially agree with what Philip said. Like, the gaming industry is going to be one of the main industry where blockchain cryptocurrency should have been massively adopted. Like, and I also agree with what you said. Like, Steam selling this like rare, unique items like secured as NFT on the blockchain also will help like the entire industry to get a mass adoption. And yeah, I think we covered today most of the topics, like from regulations, different next big thing, like as I said, like IoT. Just to wrap it up, I would like to ask all of you any final comments, anything you want to share with the community, with the world, like maybe just like a couple of like final words, or you can just like thank everyone to each other. Like, up to you. Silence.
I think we pretty much discussed a lot of topics, as you just said. Yeah, from traditional things to new school things. I think it's very interesting, and of course, having such an in-depth conversation with you guys, I think a lot of things clear up for yourself. Like, what's your perspective? What's my perspective? Yeah, I think we're pretty much agreeing to a lot of things, I feel.
Yeah,
which is good.
I'll just close it off from my side. Thanks for everyone who's watching. Thanks for Philip who joined us, and also to Kirill and also yourself, Ruben, for being here today. Look, I just want to say one final thing as well to a lot of people maybe who are watching, is that don't get too wrapped up in the FUD. I think it's really important. When you go down that rabbit hole, people get very scared and very worried about crypto as a whole. I think we all, and if I can speak on behalf of everyone here, we all agree that crypto is too big to die. These things are cyclical, so it goes in a cycle. It'll come back out again, and focus on real use cases. I think that's the key in the future. My element just on that, just to add in regards to what I think is the next big thing is, and people can laugh at this, I don't think metaverse is dead. I think people touched on it very quickly and then it got dropped like a hot potato. I think metaverse aspects, and what I mean by metaverse is interactive gamification within the metaverse, but a crossover between the real world and tangible goods, which is quite a mouthful. But what I mean by that is getting involved and interactive within the metaverse in a gamification aspect, but also interacting with things in the real world. And I think that can be the next big thing for crypto. And that's quite a mouthful in itself, but that's just my side. I said, just focus on, I think, your passion, I would say to most people out there, and continue to believe in what you believe in. I think that's probably the most important thing within crypto, and follow that passion of yours. That's all from my side.
Yeah, and I very much agree with Aaron on that. I think we're very much on page here that what we see, if you're gonna stick throughout this entire bear market, good projects will stick around. It will continue to grow this entire crypto industry, everything about it. And I think if you're active on Twitter, you are on YouTube, you see a lot of hype and terrifying things. So it's often good to reach out into this kind of projects that you're interested in, get into the Discord, the Telegrams, and talk to people there, because it's most often there that you get the true knowledge, the calm people, the people that actually sit and work with this every day, and you get a true insight and you get more calm in your investments and overall crypto aspirations. So that's my take on it. And also I want to end off from my side saying thank you so much for having me. It's been really awesome to speak to every one of you here today, and I look forward to speak more to you in the future as well.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Philip.
Phil, for this. Guys, did you like this video? Make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, Nordic Crypto, his channel is in the description below, so make sure to check out his channel. Of course, give him a subscribe and some likes too as well. Do you have any comments, questions, or suggestions you would like us to change? Or if you have any feedback for us, you can drop some comments in the description. And then we will see you in the next series.